Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. We've got the crew here. We even got one over on the other side of the pond. How's everyone doing today? We got Steph, Blake, Jackie, myself. It's been a while, hasn't it, guys?
Yes, it
Have we
has.
got anybody on yet? 8?
We got 8 people.
Yeah, we got Jackie all the way over in Germany. Whoop, whoop. She's
Yeah,
tired. She's tired.
very tired.
She
Oh
got
well.
up early.
Can you see the live now, Chris? Or
I
no?
can't see it. Can you?
What does that mean?
Can you see it on your laptop?
My laptop's out in the living room.
Oh, let me go to it.
Okay. Hold on, guys. We're trying to see if you can see this comment.
Yeah, it's just
On live on
we have
Facebook?
nobody commenting yet, so
Nope, I can't see it on Facebook.
it's
No,
not
we're
on
not doing
Facebook.
Facebook anymore. We had too much problems with that link. It's only on YouTube.
Yeah,
Is it on?
Facebook's not playing nice.
Can you see it on my laptop as live?
No, I'm trying.
I mean, I see 7 people are on, so, or at least looking. Oh, we just
Oh,
got a
there's
comment.
somebody.
Hello, you all.
Well, we are still a little early. We're 10 minutes early.
Yeah, we're early. That's fine. If
We're
people come
early.
on, they can come on. We'll just kill some time for a minute, and then
So one of the things to kill time with is the upcoming clothing allowance, which is tomorrow is the deadline. So if anybody has, and Chris, you can put the link in the comment section and we can revert back to it. But if anybody has a clothing allowance claim that they think they can file for, then go ahead and file because tomorrow is the deadline. So I have a great video on it with all the links in the description section and what qualifies for it. If you already grandfathered in, you do not need to file again. You would just simply get grandfathered. And the links in the comment
links in the
section.
comments. Good video to watch, guys. That's deadline is tomorrow, correct, Steph?
Yeah. And, while we're killing some time, Jackie, I'm going to ask you some of these questions because I know you're a busy lady, but some people are asking questions in regards to have the DBQs changed regarding um, GERD. Is there a new DBQ out yet, or is it? There is.
So I have been kind of busy the past week and a half, but last time I checked, the forward facing DBQs were not updated under the public section on the va.gov website, but
Okay.
VA internally is using the new DBQs. It will just be a matter of time until they get them on the public facing sites.
Okay. So just for the viewers, if you have any questions, please, we're killing some time right now. Please start dropping your questions into the comment section so that we can try and help answer your questions tonight quickly so we don't keep Jackie up past 2 a.m. In Germany.
It's
But
past 2 a.m.
oh crap, it is past 2 a.m. Okay, well, let's try to get her to bed before she has to wake up for work. So back to the DBQ, if somebody wants to use under the new criteria, because it's now changed as of May 19th, they want to use their doctor to try to help them with the nexus. We know there's other ways to do it. Is there not a DBQ available for the public yet? Would they just use an
I'll check
existing?
real quick right now. It's been a little bit since I checked.
Okay, because I know we had a couple of people ask that question in the group
I know
today.
they were intended on releasing them, but sometimes they just move a little slow. Let's
Right.
see.
Hi, Nikki. Hi, Lewis. Thank you for joining. Again, if anybody has questions, this is the time to put them in the comment section. Because if we don't have questions, we will be going bye bye.
No, they haven't updated them yet. It's the old ones.
It is. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. While we're waiting, I'm going to ask another question because this has been asked too, and this is some of the ones that were in my mind. The insomnia comes up a lot. So we get, and I got this today, where somebody's already rated for PTSD. Obviously, PTSD has sleep disturbances. Um, I've always put out you can't be rated more than one mental health rating other than eating disorder. but you did mention there's a small, slim chance where somebody could get insomnia rated um, separately. But can you elaborate on it? Doesn't that have to be like it's a very big if, but it has to
Yeah.
be,
So if you look at the mental health DBQ, there's a section near the top, near the diagnosis section, and it asks the examiner, you have the diagnosis section, it asks the examiner to provide all the diagnoses. And below that, it's going to say, does the veteran have more than one mental health diagnosis? We all
right?
know VA evaluates insomnia under mental health. So the veteran can have multiple diagnoses, but the key section would be, is the examiner able to delineate the symptoms of each diagnosis? So that's why you don't see separate evaluations, because for a lot of things, there's so much overlap with the
Right.
symptoms. And using the DSM 5, which is what VA does to diagnose and evaluate mental health disorders, chronic sleep impairment is a symptom of anxiety, depression, PTSD. So if you have a diagnosis of insomnia, but yet your PTSD and depression, anxiety, whatever your mental health diagnosis has, also causes chronic sleep impairment, you have that overlap of symptoms. So because it would be a lot of speculation, because it's subjective, you know, it's how we feel, it's how we're processing things. There's not a test that can be, not a test you can do to be like, this is definitively due to this or that. So you see it so rarely. And most of the time, insomnia, like I would say 99% of the time, insomnia is always going to be combined with the mental health disabilities for that reason.
Okay. Okay. Um, but it's very rare. That was my point. Like some people,
Super rare, super,
right?
super rare.
And then you see a lot of people trying to file secondary. Okay, so that kind of makes sense. Regarding Pace's comment about the increase is so depressing, I believe Pace is referring to the COLA increase. Um, Unfortunately, the COLA increase goes with the Social Security, which is the Social Security increase. It's the cost of living adjustment. And I think right now, when I last checked, it was like 2.7. Um,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's very super low. With the economy the way it is, I'm actually quite shocked it's that low. Because I mean, even last year we got a 3.6, but we have other things to be worried about right now. And we're not going to get into politics on here, but all I'm saying is that is a very low, in my opinion. I don't know what y'all's thoughts are. Don't you think that's kind of low?
It might be low, but the problem is with inflation going up, it's not a good thing.
No,
Yeah, it's definitely not keeping up with inflation right now.
no. I thought that was kind of. I thought at this point, being coming into August, because we have to October.
We usually
I
get a good idea.
right.
I feel like that's not uncommon though, to see a big increase and then smaller increases, then another big increase though. Isn't that kind of like a trend that it's been over the past like 10 or 20 years?
Yeah, but
The problem is they don't count the
right,
price of gas and they don't count the price of food in the
right.
index.
The CPI doesn't include that. But see, here's the thing. Just I'm going to give this, and we're going to move on because I know we're starting to get questions. Pace, just for your knowledge and anybody that's listening out there, if you take for example the 2 years we got the 5 point something, I forget it was, and then the 8 point something. That was almost a 14% in over 2 years. Now, if the economy does kind of get back to normal and balance out, you're not going to lose that money. So if you think about that, we've gotten those increases over the years, over these last few years, to include last year's increase of like I think it was like 3.6 or something. You're going to get to keep that money. We need the economy to get down. But yes, I
Housing prices are starting to level out and come
yeah,
down a little bit.
I just agree. It's low. But anyways, Chris, I think I did see something about somebody asking about the clothing allowance, about the last day to file.
Yeah,
Who
tomorrow.
was that? Yeah, who was that?
RM Cherry.
Arm Cherry. Okay, so yeah, Arm Cherry. We just talked about it. I don't know if you just joined. If you can see the link, let Chris know. He put it at the very beginning.
I
We
just
got
dropped.
all, huh?
I just dropped the link again.
Okay. So the links there, you have the deadline is tomorrow. They do give a little bit of a grace period sometimes, like a day or two to file it. But tomorrow, August 1st, is the deadline to file for your clothing allowance. Um, my video is very informative. If you have any last minute questions, you can always feel free to email me and I can try and help you. But the video is pretty descriptive. So, all right. Do we have some questions?
Well, we got to do the disclaimer first.
Oh, yeah, let's do the disclaimer. Okay. All right, guys. So I'll put this out there. VA claims veterans helping veterans is not accredited agent, VSO, attorney, or entity recognized by the Department of Veterans Affairs and is not affiliated with the VA in any way. We do not assist veterans with the preparation, presentation, and prosecution of VA disability claims for VA benefits. This Q&A is solely for guidance purposes and should not be considered as medical or legal advice. Okay. With that, we'll get started answering some of these questions.
All right. So Nikki's been posting a lot of stuff. I'm going to have to try and
Okay.
it has to do with IBS. So I'm trying to get to the meat of it here. So,
Okay, I'll read it.
Okay.
Is it a 3-parter? Okay.
It's a 4 or 5-parter.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, trying to get to the meat of it here. I think I
Okay.
got four things you're going to have to look at.
Okay. All right. So Nikki's up first. I went to the VA in 2019 to get it checked, and the doctor said I have all the symptoms of IBS. Gave me a home treatment and said if it doesn't work, I would have to get a colonoscopy. I never got better and never went back because I was scared of a colonoscopy. I finally went to get seen at a private gastro doctor. I finally got the colonoscopy and got diagnosed with IBS and gastritis. My question is, would I need to get a DBQ done by the doctor to increase my chances of getting approved, or should the evidence on file be enough? Also,
Okay,
would
this
a
start.
Blake statement be a good thing to submit? This would be from my wife. Okay, I'm gonna let Blake answer medically, go from there, and then Jackie and I can.
Okay. What was left off of this is that they had an incident, and went to the emergency room 20 years ago, and it had to do with their stomach and intestines. When they got out, they just dealt with the issues because they were ignorant of VA disability. Then in 2019, now a couple of things. Well, the doctor saying at the emergency room that you have the symptoms of IBS is probably not going to be good enough, especially since it's now 5 years old. You need a current diagnosis, which means that you're going to have a colonoscopy because IBS is by definition, a diagnosis of exclusion, which means they have to prove that it's nothing else before they can call it IBS, because there is no definitive test for IBS. So that's where you're going to have to start. You're going to have a current diagnosis, and you're going to have to show, and your lay statements will help, but they will show that all they'll show is that you continue to suffer from these issues. Now, Jackie, you might be able to answer. Nowhere in here does it say whether or not it would be presumptive if they ever spend any time in the Gulf
I don't think
War area or stuff impacted by PACT.
Are you done, Blake? Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So IBS, Blake's right. It's a diagnosis of exclusion, but I just want to throw out there, even if you don't have a diagnosis, VA is not going to I've never seen VA send anybody for a colonoscopy that was claiming IBS. So if you have one of record, that's really good, but you're not going to have to. They're not going to send you for one if you claim it. Blake, did you want to interject?
Yeah, on down there's a little more to this. It says I never got better. I never went back because I was scared of the colonoscopy. I finally went and got seen at a private gastroenterologist, finally got the colonoscopy, and was diagnosed with IBS.
Okay,
so it doesn't say when that happened, but finally they did that.
So VA's been fairly generous lately with veterans lay statements because the way VA looks at it, and it's in the CFR or the manual, one of the others, it's late. that a veteran is competent to describe their symptoms and the circumstances of injury or disease. Now, unless you're a doctor or we're a doctor like Blake, you can't diagnose yourself. But IBS is one of those things that, you're describing it, but a lot of times the symptoms are subjective. So lay statements, buddy statements, those kinds of things are really good to submit with claims like this, especially since you went to the hospital. And your lay statements kind of provide, not necessarily a nexus to service, but a nexus from that initial onset that you have continued to have treatment and symptoms since that hospitalization, which would, be the definition of chronicity. So I would highly suggest that you do that lay statement.
So
What was the second part? I'm sorry, there were so many parts. I'm just kind
I
of
know. I'll answer when you're done too, to my own personal.
okay. Um, the DBQ. So I just checked, and I did not see that they updated. Actually, you know what? I only checked the GERD one. Steph,
Right.
why don't you take over, and I'll look and see if the
Okay.
IBS was updated.
So on a personal note for myself, Nikki, I'm rated for IBS at 30%. I was um, service connected due to primary being to service. So in service, I had stomach issues. I had gastritis. Now, gastritis is something that goes away. It's a symptom. It's something, inflammation, I believe Blake can confirm, but it's something in the stomach. It can be treated. It is exclusionary, like both of them said. For me, for IBS, they did the colonoscopy. So they did the blood work and they did an exclusionary test. So if you have the current diagnosis and your doctor can give the medical opinion that your IBS is due to service and you have some type of service event, we had the gastritis where it shows something, then it's plausible to get the IBS rated and service connected. Jackie, did you have something else?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's so late.
Okay.
I'm still jet lagged, but they did update the DBQs. I just looked at
Oh, okay.
the IBS was definitely fixed, and I went back. They just didn't update the date on the bottom of the form, which is unusual because the law change was in May. But who cares? So you
Right.
can now download those and use them.
Okay.
And note that the law changed. It was May 19th, I believe,
May 19th.
that they are evaluating GERD and IBS and several digestive. We did a live on this, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah,
We
and we
did.
just briefly went over all the changes. So if you want to go back to the last live, it will kind of tell you what the big changes and how it affects you. One of the big ones that we can evaluate GERD and IBS separately now, which was
Yeah,
really big change.
that is
Um,
huge. And you can still have
but
hiatal hernia because I remember it was under 7319 with hiatal hernia. And
yeah,
or 70, I'm sorry, 7319 is IBS, 7346 is hiatal hernia. And then they created the new GERD DCS code 72, it's either 06 or 07, off the top of my head, I don't remember.
yeah, I
But
don't
it has
remember.
opened up a veteran to be rated for them, and the pyramiding rule has gone away. So,
And to prove a hiatal hernia, they would have to have an upper GI.
yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's testing for that. But in regards to getting the DBQ done, I mean, any evidence that you can use to support your claim is good. But if I wouldn't pay to have a doctor do that kind of DBQ, not for something like this. Now, if you have a primary care or gastro GI doctor that wants to go ahead and fill it out for you, I mean, it can't hurt. But do I think, based on what you said, as long as VA has all your treatment records, whether they be private or you received your care at the VA, they're going to be able to see all that. So,
Right.
um, VA has a duty to assist if you don't provide medical opinions or exams. That's why veterans get sent to exams because VA has a duty to assist to gather evidence to support your claim. And that's what VA is doing when they order these examinations and medical opinions. It's to help you have evidence for your claim. So do you need to? No, because it's likely VA is going to send you for one. But,
Right.
if
So
you submit evidence, submit it.
to recap, Nikki, you don't really need the DBQ. It's not required, as Jackie was saying. She said she wasn't planning to pay for when she was going to get asked her doctor who took care of her, and that's absolutely fine. You can get your doctor to even put, and this is another thing. Blake and I put together. We put together this 3-part Nexus IMO videos that are on my website as well as in our Facebook group. Blake put out a great post on Nexus and medical opinions. People always assume they need a written medical opinion. All it takes sometimes is your doctor making the notations in your medical records to suffice for you to provide that as evidence as well. So you don't necessarily need to go to your doctor and say, hey, can you fill out this DBQ? Because unfortunately, a lot of times doctors will fill out DBQs and they're not adequately filled out. And so, as Jackie can tell you, that will always develop into you're going to need an exam. And as Blake will tell you, the requirements that are required for a doctor to fill them out, make sure that they're filled out correctly with the information, which he puts in his post and I put in the video. It's very helpful. But just to recap, Nikki, you don't need an actual DBQ done by your doctor. Just provide the evidence you have. You have the diagnosis and they're linking it to service, then go ahead and file for it accordingly. Yeah. And are you guys done on that topic?
I'm good.
Okay. So Brian Anderson, before we get to Gail, Brian Anderson, Chris posted about who receives a clothing allowance, since that's like the topic, since that's the due date is tomorrow. If you're still on, Brian, clothing allowance is for a veteran to receive if they warrant it based on either the device that they have for the service connected disability or the creams that they're using for their service connected disability warranted. Chris has put the video link in the comment section, so be sure to check out my video. As I said, the deadline is tomorrow. If you qualify for it, go ahead and get it filled out. They do give a grace period about 1 to 2 days. So
When she says device, basically she's talking about braces for ankles, feet, knees. If they've got back. If they've got metal on them and can rub on the clothing and wear the clothing. And creams are basically for psoriasis and some of the skin issues. Creams and ointments.
What they buttoned up on, guys, is Velcro is no longer considered a condition. So if you have something that has Velcro, they're not actually like. I wish I had mine on. If they have just Velcro, it's not gonna be approved. But if it has some form of metal in it, like Blake was saying, and the Velcro to add to it, then it's possible. But if it's just some kind of like, I don't know what I want to say, something without metal or like a molded back brace and it's got Velcro.
It has to be solid. Like it has to have structure.
Yeah, it's not gonna, but it doesn't hurt. You can put it through to your prosthetics department and see. But if you're already grandfathered in, if you've already been receiving it from last year, then you're grandfathered in and you should have gotten a letter by now that it's just going to be renewed. So, all right, Chris, sorry about that. All right, Gail, service connected for tinnitus. Can I link my insomnia and sleep apnea to it? All right, you guys, I'm out on this one.
I'm not touching it.
You can try. You're going to have a very detailed nexus. You're going to have, it's not going to be easy. You're going to be pushing a rope up the hill.
Even the insomnia?
At least that can be plausible.
Insomnia, as long as you don't have another mental health rating. Yeah, the insomnia. Insomnia also always or typically goes hand in hand with mental health. So if you don't have a mental health rating, then the insomnia will very easily can be granted separately. But tinnitus and sleep apnea is a 0.111% chance of it getting approved.
In the old days, they would throw that out and say it wasn't a well-grounded claim because it's ridiculous. Tinnitus does not cause sleep apnea.
I was wondering
if anybody ever sees that granted, let me know because hell is frozen over.
Yeah,
that sleep apnea got secondary to tinnitus.
I've never seen that. I've never heard of it, and it's not. It's Blake, right? That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean,
are you thinking about it, Blake? Are you trying to think of a way to connect it? Because I think that's just beyond what is reasonable.
Yeah, I'm running through every scenario I can in the back of my mind, and can't really come up with anything to justify that. I'm sure somebody out there. I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can pay $2,500 for a Nexus letter that says it is. Now, whether or not they've got the studies to back it up, I doubt it.
But
I mean,
hey, if you want to claim it, claim it. Nobody can tell you can't claim something.
but yeah, but that just clogs up the system. I hate telling somebody just file
I
something.
know, but you can't say
Right,
don't claim it. You know what I mean? You can do what you want. Just know that the chance of that being
right.
like with the tinnitus, that's with the sleep apnea, that's like hitting the lottery.
I mean, the number one that's, oh, we can't wait to go away, but and that's the problem, is because we have so many raters that are finicky. And we're going to go with the PTSD, right? OSHA secondary PTSD, and we all three agree on that situation, which we thought was going to change. And maybe Greg could chime in, or Jackie. I don't know if you heard anything. Has it changed? The changes
It's still
coming?
pending. They haven't sent out any official guidance yet. So
Okay.
when it changes, it will change, but it's projected to change.
Quarter.
Last I heard, it was projected to change by the end of the summer, early fall. But
Okay.
it's VA and things can change. So
Right.
who knows?
No, I agree. No,
Yeah.
but the answer to your question, Gail, is insomnia is plausible, so long as you don't already have a mental health uh, rating currently. If you do, then you're not going to get insomnia because you already have sleep disturbances with your mental health. And as far as OSHA secondary to tinnitus, that's, as Blake said, a 0.0001% chance. So, okay, next question. So, big time adventures. Is it true you can have CMP exams in the Philippines? Doctors are more favorable to veterans, and the claims are rated quickly at Manila Regional Office? Question mark.
If you live there, if you don't live there, you can't travel to the Philippines to have a CMP exam. If you are a resident, you can, and that's all subjective. You're just hearing what people are talking about. It's still doctors having to provide opinions, and Philippines claims. I could look it up. I don't think they're worked by. I think they're worked by a stateside RO. They go to one particular RO. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. Greg, do you know off the top of your head? Hook a sister up.
Huh?
I told Greg hook a sister up. Maybe he remembers off the top.
Or maybe Greg. Yeah, Greg, if you're listening, can you,
He's
can
on
you
here.
answer? Huh?
Yeah, I mean, I can.
He's
I
on
just don't
here.
have my
He's
usual resources up because I'm in a hotel room.
But I mean, I think, like you said, they got to be living there. So I'm assuming, I'm feeling like I'm taking in from the question from what was it, Big Adventures? What was his name? That he's big time adventures, that he's probably living there. But like you said, we can't be for sure. But I don't know if necessarily doctors are more favorable to veterans, um, in a sense of, is he talking about the CMP examiners are more favorable over there? There's Greg. They fall into the NWQ, same as all others.
Okay, because it's a territory.
Okay,
No,
so
not a territory. So sometimes the overseas claims they go to different areas. So
right,
like claims from so if they go into the national work queue, like I'm in Germany right now, and those claims go to Pittsburgh unless they're appeals, then they go to Seattle. Different areas of responsibility go to different ROs for special um, processing considerations.
right. So then it does go into the national working queue. What is
Yeah,
that? The national work
national
work
work queue,
queue.
national work
NWQ.
queue.
Yeah.
Right. So then it doesn't really matter. So even if you file, but I mean, even if you file in your Manila, you're still going to go to an exam in Manila. I think that was what
Yeah,
his,
they'll conduct exams there for
yeah.
sure.
But you're still going to go through the NWQ, is what Greg's saying. Okay, that makes sense. And something else Greg touched on was the insomnia. See, and that's where I've seen a lot of these misinformations on insomnia, which that's why I'm trying to clarify, because he
Yeah.
says you cannot be granted on a secondary basis per the M21-1 section, considering service connection for insomnia. But I see so many of those YouTubers out there that are stating people can get secondary. It's it's confusing veterans is where I'm going with it because
Insomnia secondary to tinnitus, I can see.
yes.
But tinnitus secondary to insomnia, no.
Well, I think he was clarifying when we were talking to Gail about the insomnia to
I
tinnitus.
think Greg is right. I think it goes to, yeah, sorry. No, it's, I mean, if you look up the manual reference, it's very clear
Yeah.
on considering insomnia on a secondary basis.
So he's saying that Pittsburgh does have foreign jurisdiction claims, but I believe Manila falls under Honolulu management and rules.
Unless it's appeals. The appeals foreign jurisdiction is now Seattle. They recently changed that, I think. They have a team, they just set up a new team that are handling them.
Okay, so to recap for big time adventures, is it true you can have a CMP exam in the Philippines? Yes.
Yes.
Are they more favorable to veterans?
No.
And are the claims rated quickly? They go through the same process. So I think that's the recap on all that. So, okay. Brian Anderson. I'm very new to this channel. I filed last July and a sweet 83-year-old veteran assisted me. I didn't hear anything until May this year, and I have been sent for my exams. I have many questions.
So what questions?
Who can I ask or turn to? Do you have a suggestion? I'm very overwhelmed. Yes. So there is a great website, Chris. If you could you put the OGC website link? The OGC website is an accredited VSOs that you can find VSOs, you can find accredited agents, and you can find even accredited attorneys. Are we laughing about something else? Okay.
You can also ask in the group as long as it's not a how long question.
That's where I was going to go too. But the link is the link will at least take you to the website.
I don't have that. I don't.
Just Google it. OGC website. It'll come right up.
Gov?
Huh?
Is it hhs.gov?
No, just put OGC website. It'll come right up. And it'll be something accredited. I always forget.
I don't have a laptop.
Oh, if you just Google accredited VA agents, it will pop up as like an OIG website.
General Counsel?
Huh?
Office of General Counsel?
No.
I can
Not
put
OI,
it in.
not OIG, OGC.
That's what I put. It comes up with Office of General Counsel.
All right, hold on.
Yeah, I think that's it. Let me put it in our chat.
OGC accreditation search.
Yep.
I got it. Did you get it already, Jackie? I got it right
We
here.
are pulling it now.
Here it is, Chris.
We'll race to find it.
Why
So I
you
just-
pop it in there?
Because I can in the comment section. We can only give it to you.
Yeah, I was gonna only put it in the
You're the master commentator.
You're the master commentator, dude.
It's better than being the master debater.
Right? There it is. Okay. So who was it that just asked this question?
Brian Anderson.
Brian. So Brian, there's the link. Use that link. Try to search your city and state. As Blake said, you can come into the group. You can ask in the group. You can email us as well. But you could ask in the group for if anybody in your area has a recommendation. We try to stay away because of soliciting of non-accredited agents. But you can come into the group and ask if somebody knows a VSO, a DAV, American Legion, or something like that to help you. So hopefully that can help you. Don't try not to get overwhelmed. Brian, also try to ask a lot of questions in the group. We're very helpful. We can try and help you and go from there as well. And like Chris put up, if you need to ask me some more one-on-one questions, you can always email me as well and try to help. I do hope that you have an intent to file, but it sounds like I think you've already started some of your claims. So hopefully you have at least an intent to file. Okay. Where are we going? What's going on here?
Lewis.
Hold on, Chris. Put that down for a second. Greg put something about Did you see all that, Jackie, about the VA is only supposed to be granting it on a direct basis?
Yeah, so you know, we talk about it with mental health all the time because a lot of times it will get combined with that. But if they're claiming it secondary to another condition, and Greg used a good example, which is secondary to tinnitus, they're not
Okay.
going to grant a secondary. It'll be granted as like secondary, but it's going to be combined with the tinnitus. So it will be the higher of the two. No, it should just be combined with the tinnitus, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have my second computer with the manual up right now, so I'm doing the best I can with the recall.
First of all, Big Time Adventures, I'm just going to call it out because he put that up, Chris, Big Time Adventures comment. Depression secondary to tinnitus is common claim at average rating is 70. Well, first of all, there's no average rating. So let me educate you here on this. Mental health is 0 to 100%. Mental health is 0, 10, 30, 50, 70, and 100. So there is no average mental health claim for mental health. You're base graded on your symptoms, their severity, and your total and occupational impairments. So there's not an average that raters have and they just throw a dart at it and they say, all right, everybody's getting 70% because they have tinnitus and it's causing mental health anguish. You have to prove that your tinnitus is causing chronic mental health anguish to the point that you warrant a service connection for your mental health. Then you have to also prove where you fall within that mental health rating parameters. So there's not just an average of 70%. So I'm sure that's just a bunch of veterans sitting around talking, saying, hey, if you file for it, you're going to get an average of 70. Um, you can file for it, and then you would get rated based on your symptoms and based on the total and social occupational impairments that you have based on your tinnitus causing your mental health anguish. Um, so I just wanted to clarify that. Um, Greg saying, yeah, just 10%.
Yeah, so when we combine it with that secondary condition, it's going to be the evaluation of the secondary
Got it.
condition.
Got it.
Thank you for confirming that, Greg. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And as Pierce is chiming in, well, maybe that's a different one. I'm sorry. So I just wanted to clarify that Big Time. And hopefully that addresses that because it's just a bunch of skepticism out there. All right, Chris, let's go with questions. Nikki's back. I heard chronic pain is claimable now. Is this true? Would medical records that reflect chronic pain be enough evidence? Jackie?
So it's really going to depend. So pain can be compensable, but it's really going to depend on how you claim it. Like, are you claiming pain due to trauma and physical injuries? Are you claiming pain due to something like fibromyalgia, somatic pain? Um, what is it, Blake? Somatic pain syndrome?
Somatic
Yeah.
symptoms is somatic
Yeah.
somatic
So
symptoms.
it's really going to depend on the diagnosis and what the etiology of the pain is. But you can claim it. It would be, I would consider that a more difficult claim that would require like evidence and treatment records and things like that.
Well, and see the other thing, the thing that I have always have the misconception about filing for pain because pain in of itself isn't a disability was always in my head until that appeal that came down. I think it's Wilkie's or something. I can't remember which one it was, but in any event, she had knee pain, right? She suffered with knee pain, so the cause of her pain was the knee, but she didn't get a rating for the knee. So a lot of veterans think that they can go ahead and file for pain separately when they've already got, let's say, their back's rated. If your back's already
Right.
rated, you're not going to get chronic pain rated separately.
So Nikki said that it's due to an injury. So when VA is evaluating musculoskeletal injuries,
Yeah.
if you have painful motion or pain and functional impairment, VA will evaluate that on its own without consideration of the range of motion as 10%. But it doesn't matter if the pain is excruciating or the pain is intermittent and you know just happens when you're doing certain activities. It's all
Right.
evaluated at 10%. we all know that there's can be three different types of evaluations for the knee. So you could warrant three different evaluations for the knee, right? Or, dependent if, two, three, whatever. But if you get additional evaluations, those are going to be based on pain and range of motion, right? Or
Right.
instability. So, but pain is considered once per joint
That's a
for
good
a typical
explanation.
evaluation. Yes.
See, that's good. Okay. She said thank you. Okay, good. Okay. All right. Next question, Chris. While I was on active duty, this is from Lewis again. While I was on active duty, I had 3 TBIs, developed headaches, sleep apnea, and a heart condition. Can it be contributed back to my TBI?
The headaches can be. The sleep apnea, if it's central sleep apnea, can be central versus obstructive, and the heart condition probably not.
Okay.
It may not be able to be linked to the TBI, but if you experienced a TBI and you had that trauma event, sometimes that stuff can affect different body systems based on injuries. So it wouldn't be related to TBI, but you could have damage to other areas of the body due to the trauma event that caused the TBI, if that makes sense. I just wanted to kind of caveat on
Right.
that.
And correct me, Jackie, if I'm wrong, but the headaches may already be considered in a rating for TBI.
Yeah, absolutely. So they can be. In fact, if you look at the TBI evaluation criteria, they can be evaluated actually under TBI as a subjective symptom, or if the examiner determines that the veteran meets the diagnostic criteria for migraines as like a standalone diagnosis, it can also be evaluated separately. TBI examiners have special training, and they have to have certain degrees like
They're usually a neurologist.
neurologist, neuropsychologist. There's like three different types of specialized doctors that are able to provide the TBI examinations and medical opinions.
Yeah.
So based on their evaluation, be able to determine if they're going to lump it in with the TBI evaluation or if they're going to separately evaluate it. But that is actually a very common residual for a TBI. So that would be, a solid claim.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. I'm 70% for PTSD and TBI. Sorry, Pierce Gilbert III. Next to the rating, it says no combat. How was that determined? It was combat related. So I'll touch on this and then someone else can, but you probably know a little bit more, Jackie. But I think that's more of a personal thing if it doesn't say combat, but it could maybe lead to other things. So if it was due to combat, I guess they could get it amended. Jackie, do you have some?
If it's not too personal and you're willing to share what the TBI event was, so basically when VA looks at combat, it's either they're looking at like direct combat. They can consider things like IEDs and whatnot. Now, if you were deployed to a combat zone and experienced a TBI, that's not going to be considered combat. We're talking about actual combat conditions like pew 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 or IEDs or things of that nature.
So just not being over in the combat, actually being.
Yeah, so just being in a combat zone is not enough to meet the criteria for the combat consideration.
Because I know
But
isn't
if
there
you put
some
it in the chat, we can
special,
readdress it.
isn't there
I'm
some
sorry,
special
Steph.
pay or something for combat too? Like veterans can.
No,
No, what
but
happened?
combat can get special considerations with the nexuses sometimes. But no, there is no. So if you might be thinking of CRSC, right, or
Yes,
CRCS. So if a disability is classified as a combat-related disability and they were medically separated, they may
got it.
be entitled to concurrent pay, where
That's
most veterans, if it's not combat related, would only be entitled to the higher, whatever, an offset amount or the higher entitlement.
that's what I was thinking. Okay, so I think we've got a five-parter coming up here. So, all right, so this is a five-parter. Brian T, is a Nexus letter required if you have your military medical records that support chronic bronchitis that was ongoing for over 4 months straight back in 1996? Since then, I have been diagnosed with chronic bronchial asthma, which is the claim that I submitted. So basically, my medical records have this documented and my primary care doctor since the 90s. I also wrote a personal statement letter tonight, which I will upload tomorrow to explain the service connection. There appears to be a misconception from what I have been hearing where a Nexus letter is required. Is this true or false statement if you have the documentation? My
Can I
concern
attack?
is that my claim will get denied without the Nexus. Any concerns with this?
Can I attack that?
Absolutely.
So it is a huge it's a buzzword within the veteran communities right now. Nexus, Nexus, Nexus. People get mad. They think they have to go get a Nexus. They're paying predatory companies, or they're asking their private providers to fill them out. And a lot of times, unfortunately, these medical providers don't understand what a because I'll use like a medical opinion and kind of a nexus interchangeably here, right? So VA asks for medical opinions to ask if the condition, injury, disease is related to service, right? Or the event in service. So if you submit a nexus, great, good, wonderful, but there's very specific requirements that a medical opinion or nexus must meet to be considered. So if it does not meet all those elements, VA is going to send for a sufficient one through a contract examiner or the BHA. Do you need a nexus? No. Why? Because VA is literally sending you for an exam or an exam and a medical opinion to help you have evidence to support your claim. VA is literally sending you to see if you can get a nexus. All right. So if you submit a nexus, of course it can be considered and it's good evidence to support your claim. But do you need a nexus? No. Will the claim be not denied if you don't provide a nexus? Not necessarily. Many, many veterans submit a claim and they don't provide a nexus and they get granted every day, all day.
And, and
So,
contrary to popular belief, those medical opinions that they're sending you for aren't out there to deny it. They're not. That is not. They are not paid to deny. They are paid to assess.
yep, they're paid to provide. And I think sometimes people may think that they'll have a better outcome with these private medical opinions, but that's not necessarily the case because think about it, it's a medical opinion. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one, like some very common. Some doctors believe that PTSD can cause sleep apnea, right? But it's very split within the medical community. And for as many doctors or medical providers that believe that sleep apnea can be caused by PTSD, there's just as many who don't believe that. So it's an opinion. That medical provider is using their medical expertise and experience to provide that medical opinion. So, it's possible that be able to deny a claim based on a medical opinion, but if you appeal it and it goes through again, you may very well get another examiner who believes the opposite, and the claim could get granted. So, I don't personally believe in most cases that a nexus is really required. I mean, obviously, in some cases, they're really helpful, especially if you're claiming something that's beyond the norm. But do you have to have one? No, because VA is going to send you to get examined and have an examiner provide that nexus opinion. That's
That's
what a
part of their
medical
duty.
opinion is.
Well, what
That's part of
about
their duty to assist.
what?
Absolutely.
But isn't there also a flip on that where if a veteran doesn't submit enough evidence to warrant an exam, they will not have an exam? And I'm not saying necessarily provide the nexus. I agree with you. Like we said earlier in this conversation, we have a 3-part out there on the YouTube about the Nexus medical opinion and simply having the language in your medical records. But if the veteran doesn't provide enough evidence, isn't it sometimes under the M21-1, if there's not enough evidence to support, then there won't be an exam?
So the threshold for examinations is
Yeah.
really, really low.
Okay.
The only type of claim that I think that would be really, really applicable to is if you file a supplemental claim on the VA form 20 TAC 0995.
Okay.
Because when you file a supplemental claim, you're providing supplemental evidence. So if you don't provide new and relevant evidence to support your claim, then no, they're not going to consider anything because the evidence of record is the same as before.
Got it.
So that would be really important for those types of claims. But for the other claims, I mean, really the threshold for examination is low.
Yeah. And I think it also goes to, well, I don't want to get off topic, but anyways. So Brian said, thank you very much. And we put part 1 of it. Brian, also join the Facebook group because Blake has a post on that as well in the group. That's very thorough and knowledgeable as well. And again, if you have any questions, always feel free to email. In fact, anybody, if you have questions or anything like that, you can always email. We're happy to help and assist in the best we can. Blake and I also do consultations. Jackie's got enough to do, but he and I have like nothing else to do in our lives, so we enjoy doing consultations together.
She's always on the boat, yet she has nothing
Yeah.
else to do.
We do. We like to do consultations, you know.
When she's not on the boat and I'm not in the kitchen.
Right? Which you make fabulous meals. I love it. But in any event, I'm glad we were able to help. All right, next question. Everett, I was recently awarded rhinitis at 30%, but now want to claim sleep apnea as secondary. Will the claim trigger a reevaluation for rhinitis, even though it was just a few weeks ago?
Very well may.
Long story short, anytime, I'm just going to say this and you guys can jump in, but anytime you file a secondary to a primary, the primary is always looked at because that's the one you're filing the secondary to. You just filed a couple weeks ago for rhinitis, so albeit a Q, which is a clear and unmistakable error, not in your favor, I wouldn't see why it would be an issue. But
and they're on different DBQ stuff, so
Yeah.
a lot of times they're not really going to look at something if you're claiming something secondary, but if you're claiming something secondary to another condition and they're on the same DBQs, they likely will be looked at again.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
But honestly, you said it was rhinitis, right?
Yeah,
Rhinitis. Was it rhinitis, right?
rhinitis, 30%.
Yes.
Yep.
So rhinitis is based on like nasal obstruction and polyps. So unless you've had surgery in the past 3 weeks, I'm pretty sure your condition has not improved. So I think you're safe with this one.
And isn't that a pretty plausible one? Since we've been talking about sleep apnea all night, isn't that a pretty plausible one, Blake, to get sleep apnea
Can be.
secondary and cyanitis is another one?
Can be. Most sleep apnea, the obstruction part of sleep apnea mostly happens from here down.
Okay.
Because if it's nasal, then unless you have that chronic drainage in the back of your throat, that can cause some obstruction. But like nasal polyps technically can cause it, but usually don't.
Right.
It would have to be
Because you
really
can open-
severe obstruction, wouldn't it?
Because you can open your mouth to breathe.
Like,
What was that
It
question,
would have
Jackie?
to be pretty severe obstruction.
It would be. I mean, like I said, the body will naturally open your mouth to breathe if it's nasally obstructed.
Oh. Right.
So, but the actual rhinitis, basically is a chronic postnasal drip situation that can also cause some inflammation and obstruction of the airway.
Interesting. Okay. So just to circle back to the question is, The likelihood of Rhinitis being looked at, like Jackie said, is null. And based on two factors. One, it's not even in the same category, which I like the way that makes sense. Rhinitis is completely separate from sleep. It's not in the same, what would you call it? Not category, but
DBQ. It's on a different DBQ.
and you just got rated a few weeks ago. So unless you had surgery a few weeks ago, then the likelihood would be null. Just an FYI, guys, we're running down to, I think, one more question. But if you have any questions, please ask them now, because we're not going to hang around, because we're trying to get Jackie to sleep, because she is in Germany, and we're trying to keep this at an hour, and we're approaching that right now. We've been on for almost an hour now. We got on early. So if you have any questions, now is the time to ask them, because you will not get them answered if you ask them after we're done. So
And this would be probably a good time to tell you that for the next foreseeable future, that our lives will be starting about an hour earlier.
oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. So we'll
So
talk about
Jackie's
that.
not up past her bedtime.
While Jackie's in Germany, we're gonna try and do we're gonna try and do our next live at 6 o'clock. We'll talk about it at the end, though. I think we got one more question. All right, one last question. If you have time, this is from Brian T. I submitted my claim on July 24th, but I have been adding more supporting documents since then. Is that fine to do that while under review? Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
You can upload evidence all the time while your claim is pending. And it'll be considered, as long as it's record, as long as it's the evidence of record before the claim is finalized, then that's great. I don't. We always have this question: does it necessarily stall a claim, Jackie?
So in certain situations, it may, like, if you indicate, for example, if you submit a statement that says you've been getting private treatment from a specialist and VA was not aware of that before, VA has a duty to assist you and gather in those records. So what they would do is they would write you a letter and say, hey, you said you might have private treatment records. We'd like to get those so we can consider them for your claim. Then they would send you an authorization to disclose medical records, and then ask for authorization to try to get them for you. So it's possible it may hold up. Maybe you submit something late and it doesn't get caught till, like, you don't submit it till after the examination. If the records are relevant, and they may change the outcome of the claim, because they don't always. The rater may decide that they need to send it back for a new medical opinion considering that new evidence. So sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. It really just depends on what's submitted.
Okay.
And I have a question for you, Jackie, on that. Does the VA accept if the veteran sends his own medical records in? Private
Yes,
medical records.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because when I was in private practice, we made it a habit of not accepting records. We had to get them from another physician or another treatment facility. We would not take them directly from them, because
VA will accept them from the veteran, and then they'll also, try to get them for the veteran if that's what the veteran want.
on more than
It
one
doesn't matter as
occasion,
long as we have them, and as long as we have them and they don't look fraudulent. So if they're like fraudy, that could raise some red flags. But
on more than one occasion, the records we got from the provider and the records we got from the patient didn't jive. Like, they got fired by their last provider for drug seeking. Those things they pulled out of their record.
well, some people kind of maybe pick and choose what they send in and stuff, but they're not trying to be like the fun police or anything. They really just want the records so they can fairly evaluate and decide. Right. If there's a few pages missing, then it is what it is. They're not going to, if the veteran submits all the records, they're not going to go out and develop for the records, because if the veteran says they sent us all the records, let's say that.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes veterans send like hundreds and hundreds and thousands of pages.
Yeah,
and
one page.
Why? Huh? I know. Well, then they wonder why either the claim's taking forever or something gets missed. It's always best to just provide the exact evidence to support the claim. Pull out the few pages of medical evidence to support your claim and provide that, and not make the rater comb through every single thing. Like I've had people send me 15-page personal statements. I'm like, holy crap.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
that's intense. That's a lot.
That's
Oh yeah. Yeah, we've
yeah,
looked over a lot of really intense stuff.
we
One guy
have.
even sent pictures of the tanks that he rode in,
Yeah.
Yeah, a
like
lot of veterans do that,
20
believe it or not.
pictures.
Like 20
And
pictures.
they'll send the pictures in, and then a lot of times it's generalized, and it really doesn't do, like, I don't think it really proves what the veteran is intending. But
Right.
like sometimes veterans will be claiming a skin condition, they'll send a picture in, and then it substantiates the claim. So
Right. No, I mean, I have sent pictures too, but like I said, send some, you send something of value. Don't, don't send hundreds and hundreds of pages, because then, like I said, the veteran either wonders why it's taken so long or why maybe something got overmissed. And don't forget, at the end of the day, raters are humans too. So humans make mistakes. We all do.
And if those records are prior to electronic medical records, then the writer has to decipher the handwriting, and
oh,
that's
that
my
can be tough.
superpower,
Right.
not everyone's.
Right. But
Yeah, that can be really tough sometimes. Steph, I loved what you said about like send stuff in that's value added. So if you have like 2,000 pages of medical records, but you're claiming headaches, it
right.
would be best if you just submitted the headache ones. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
you wanna point out and make everything obvious, because you're trying to help the claims processors make a favorable decision. If you just
Right.
send in 2,000 page records, you better pray that Control F is going to pick up on all of them, because, you know, raters and BSRs and decision review, also, these claims processors have quality and production metrics. So they literally can't sit there and read 2,000 pages of records. All right.
Right.
So you want to make it as easy and efficient for them to review all the evidence and make the best decision they can.
Right. And I mean, like I
Same way
said,
with some of the Nexus letters that we've seen that have 30 pages of fluff.
Fluff.
or
Yeah.
or the one we had on here a while back, which is in our live, where we had a cut and copy paste, where a lot of these doctors you're paying for these Nexus letters are cutting and copying and pasting, and it was for chronic cyanitis, and it was talking about breast cancer. There was
Or they have
obvious,
the wrong veteran's name and
right.
Yeah.
So you have to be you have to do your due diligence. And I get it, at the end of the day, you get frustrated. You don't, you're trying to prove the nexus and establish it, but um, just remember, raters are humans too. So um, Bob W keeps trying to post a question. I have no idea. He keeps typing. So if he's typing, I don't know why he's not posting his question. So Bob
that's
W, if you have a question, just email it to us, and we'll try to answer your question offline. Chris, is that the end of our questions for the night? I know we've been on a little over an hour now.
So unless Blake checks me, I think we've got everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, I think everything, Bob may have too long a question to fit
It might
in.
be too long for Bob, so yeah, just email us and we'll get you an answer, Bob. Just email us.
Yeah.
Stephanie and I'll look at it and get it back to you for sure.
I mean, we'll send it to Jackie at 4 in the morning. She'll be able to look at it.
oh yeah. I need to at least get 3 hours sleep
We're almost
tonight.
there now. All right. So just a quick update, like Blake was saying, we're going to try something new with our next live Q&A. I'm going to get with the group and see what date works best for us. But we're going to try like a 6 p.m. Eastern. I know that's super early on the Pacific coast, but with Jackie being in Germany, we're trying to accommodate her, because even at 6 p.m., it's midnight for her. So we're going to try at 6 p.m. We'll put the date out soon once we see how it works for everybody. And I don't know, maybe we will get some more people, or maybe not. But I appreciate you, Jackie, coming on. I know it's super late. Appreciate you, Blake, as always. And I think that's it, right, guys? We're good?
Yep, that should be it.
All
So-
right.
Drink a beer a day for me, Jackie.
The beer is really good here. Yum.
Yum. She said yum.
Yum.
All right, y'all. Have a good night.
Have a great
All
night, guys.
right. Have a good night,
Bye, guys.
everybody.